Hey everybody, welcome. It's another episode of Landmark Live. This is a production of the Platte County Landmark newspaper. It's your favorite local newspaper. It's Brad Carl's favorite local newspaper as well.
It is unless I decide to start my own.
Yeah, well, you were just talking about that. If our delivery doesn't speed up, which he gets it next day, if he doesn't get it same day, he's going to start his own newspaper.
I may as well start it myself because I can read it a lot faster.
That's right. And you might not even share it with anybody. Just put it up just for your own benefit.
I used to do that, yeah.
I'm Ivan Foley. This is Brad Carl. We're here to talk Platte County current events tonight. And you know what, Brad?
Yes.
Are you still doing your street musician stuff?
Well, the weather's been a little rough the last couple of days. My guitar case blew down I-29.
That is not
so
good.
that had money in it.
Oh
So
no!
it was a problem.
All your tips.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
It was bad.
And you work on tips.
Yeah, exactly. Just the tips.
Yeah. That's amazing. You make good money at that, though.
It's not bad. I mean, again, until the police come
Right.
and remove you for illegally doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which jail do they take you to?
The one that I'm going to refer to a little bit later in a poem that I wrote.
Oh, really? Well,
a special
I don't know.
moment.
Is there room in the Platte County Jail for you?
That's the problem.
Oh,
is that I had to sleep on the floor, but that's okay because really
with your head by the toilet. Right?
exactly. That's okay though. That's okay.
It worked for you, right?
It works
You
because
see
I'm rehabilitated.
Right. You haven't been back since.
Exactly.
This is a good plan.
I think so, and that's kind of the theme of my poem. You know, I'm a lyricist and a lyricer.
Yes.
Limericker.
You're very good at that.
Yeah, and so I figure we'll save it till a little bit later.
Let's do it. I mean,
Yeah.
you're just gonna speak the words, or you're actually gonna sing?
I'll let you. No, well.
You didn't bring your guitar.
It started off as a song, but I decided that I didn't have enough time to melodize it. So I just poemed it.
All these fancy musical words. I mean,
yeah,
you're like Beethoven without the piano.
Pretty much.
That's what you are.
And with the hearing. Yes. Exactly.
And we have a sponsor tonight, Brad. You want to take care of that for us?
I can.
Okay.
Well, you know what? You take care of the first one while I get in these streams.
Hey, our sponsor is our friend Vic Perrin from Total Tan. Total Tan is located next to the Lowe's Walmart complex at Berry Road and I-29, and it is the place to go for all your tanning needs. It's that time of year when we begin thinking about outdoor activities, so we'll want to look and feel our best, right? And with spring break, beach trips upon us, you certainly don't want to tackle the sunshine without a healthy base tan, and Vic will get you a base tan. And if you need one today, he'll let you borrow his because he has a healthy base tan.
He is really good at tanning.
He's great at it.
Yes.
He's tan year round. I don't know how he does that.
I do.
Visit Total Tan right away to begin safely developing the color you want to get the most enjoyment during your vacation. And don't forget, prom is coming up fast, Brad. Are you ready for prom?
No.
Okay.
Because I don't have to be yet.
Not anymore.
No,
right?
you ask me when I'm ready for Halloween. I'm always ready for Halloween, but because I have to be ready.
Our prom's a fond memory of your high school days. Cause it was not something we want to talk about.
No, I mean I went. They were fun. With some great people in case they're watching.
Yeah.
But you know, I wasn't really the ladies' man.
Oh, you weren't.
No.
I'm surprised by that.
No,
Brother.
it was.
Hey, and at Vic's place, they have several tanning levels. They have light, they have medium, and they have Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So Brad will get.
I don't want the Donald Trump.
Oh no, you don't want that.
No,
Okay.
I don't want people to mistake
Vic
me.
will take care of you. Head to Total Tan and check out their website, TotalTanKC.com.
I'd like to be in on the negotiations sometime when you're actually selling these ads to Vic. I bet those are interesting.
It's hardcore.
Yeah,
it's
I can
hardcore. We really beat each other up.
I know what Vic is like, and I
man,
can only imagine.
He's a heck of a businessman.
Two lightweights going at it.
Yeah, when I look tall, you know, the guy is short.
Yeah,
so.
that's it. Yeah. Do you believe in? Wait, let's ask this real quick.
Yes.
I think this is very show viable.
Okay.
Do you believe in short man syndrome? Do you know what short man?
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that.
I don't think you qualify though.
I don't. No.
I think you're tall enough to not qualify.
Oh well, I don't know about that. I just don't have that hardcore attitude.
Well, that I would agree with. You also do not. So if somebody did say you're a short guy, you know, but I don't think he qualifies for Vic either because I don't think Vic.
No, Vic
seems
doesn't. Vic's
very,
cool, dude.
Yeah,
Vic's
Vic
cool.
doesn't seem to have a stick anywhere
Vic
stuck in a
actually is one of the most polite guys you'll ever meet. You know, we give him a hard time on the show, but very polite.
Yeah, he's a good guy, definitely. And you do want to get your tan, and you were just saying before the show started that I do need to get in there and get started with my tanning. What a great time to do it, right before summer starts.
Get it. You need to get that base
spring.
tan going, friend.
I do.
Tonight we have as our guest a man who is really in touch with the goings on in Platte County. He is a former employee of the city of Kansas City, recently ran for office in Platte County. We'll get to know him a little better and we'll talk about all things Platte County with our guest. And let's bring him on now. His name is David Park.
Hey,
David, come on in.
Also does not have short man syndrome.
Welcome, David. David's very tall man.
Yes, nice to see you, sir.
Well, David, welcome to the show. We thank you for bringing some intelligence and some sanity to the set.
We need it.
Because with Brad and I here, it sometimes gets, those two things are lacking.
Yeah,
So
that's
we're
right.
glad you're here. That's why we asked you on, David. David, let's talk first about your background.
Sure.
Go ahead and fill us in.
Well, I'm retired from the city of Kansas City, Missouri, about 4 years ago. At the time I retired, I was the director of Neighborhood and Community Services Department, which was a large department that has lots of different kind of programs operated out of it, from the code enforcement, animal control, all the social services programs, homelessness programs. We did run at one time the municipal correctional institution for the city. We had liquor control, amusement control, neighborhood preservation, neighborhood assistance center, which worked with neighborhood organizations, so just kind of kit and caboodle.
Yeah.
My last year, before I retired, was to get the Kansas City's land bank established, get it up and running. We had shepherded some of the legislation through the state legislature to authorize it. So then my final year was helping get the board established, bylaws written and so forth to get it actually under operation.
Yeah. Now, animal control, I bet that was fun, right? That was a fun department.
It's always a challenge. Fortunately, they're currently building the new animal shelter. The citizens of Kansas City did approve a tax increase to build a new shelter, but it's part of the bond package. So that's under construction at Swope Park. Otherwise, our shelter was really a bad situation. Right. We did contract with KC Pet Project, which has done wonderful with the, converting it into a kill shelter. And they've got animals that they adopt out at Rosa, as well as all around. They've done a wonderful job. I'm so happy that it turned out that way.
Yeah. Now, Barry Road, Brad, do you live actually in the city limits of Kansas City?
Yes, actually I do.
You
Yeah, definitely.
Any trouble with animal control or?
No trouble with animal control. I'm a little concerned about liquor control. Whenever I hear that word, those two words put together, I'm always concerned that
There's not enough liquor in the
Right. Somebody's controlling the liquor.
What is going on?
I don't understand, but yeah, no, I do, and I have no animal control complaints.
Good.
So
How about the streets? Are the streets getting plowed for you? Okay, this.
Actually, it's funny that you say that because I live in between three subdivisions, and we are the lower rent of the three subdivisions, and we get ours plowed much more efficiently than the other ones because we've got the right people doing it.
And they know you're Barry Road Brad.
Exactly. That's probably what it is.
I was over. Just a funny story before we get back to David. I was over at Smithville one day, and some lady came actually running. Hey, Brad! She was calling me Brad. And
Really?
Yes. And
I love it.
That
is a true story.
That's a true story. It was at the Smithville Festival last fall. Hey, Brad! I went, no. Right show, wrong guy.
Wrong guy.
So.
Yeah.
But David, what prompted you to get so into the Platte County current event scene and follow the county activities so closely?
Well, about a year ago, I think some of the folks that knew my background started asking me about running for county office, said that they felt like there were some issues with the county that needed addressed and thought that I'd be able to do something about it. And I started looking into it more. I hadn't really paid that much attention at the county commission level. And of course, the parks was my main issue. That they were saying that they were going to do away with the funding for the parks, which I'm a real advocate for parks. And that concerned me that it would be done and why it would be done. So the more I looked into it, the more I thought it was something that interested me. I did wait until almost the last day to file to see if anybody else was going to tackle it. And nobody did. So I went ahead and filed and then ran, and been kind of in a learning mode ever since that point too, to see what all was going on, and that's I'm still engaged, even though I lost the election. Right. I'm still engaged because a lot of the things that concern me are still there, and they're still going on. So I want to see what I can do, at least from the grassroots level, to bring about some of the changes that I see that are needed.
Right. Now, those things that concern you, let's kind of go through those. Talk about those. What are the things that concern you the most because you've been at almost every county commission meeting?
Yeah, I have. I've been about at all of them. One's a real lack of transparency. That they don't engage the citizens enough in a lot of the decisions that are going on. And I think the best form of governing is when the people govern are very, participatory, and they're very engaged in what's going on in their community. And I would like to see a lot more public engagement. Like, they're doing these capital improvement, sales tax, public education meetings now this month. When the election is April 2nd, and they started these now. And those should have been done a long time before they decided to put it on the ballot. In fact, last August, when they first talked about putting a tax on the November ballot, they pulled that off of consideration, but said that they would be looking at it again later, but there would be a lot of public interaction in the meantime. And there wasn't any. It just came up again and put on the ballot with not enough information with what's gone into it. And I don't think full enough. So I'm concerned about that transparency.
Mm-hmm.
They do the budget the same way. The budget's posted 10 days in advance. They have one hearing Monday during the middle of the day when most people are working, and they adopt the budget. There's no changes.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see public engagement while the budget's being formed. What kind of things they like to see done? How would they like to see their money spent? That goes into the preparation of the budget. Then you have a number of hearings or public meetings before the budget's approved to give the community time to say we'd like to see more money in this or that. They can maybe make some changes, and then it's final product. I'm just not seeing that kind of stuff.
Right. And that's important. I agree with you there. These input meetings should have been held to formulate a plan.
Correct.
To put on the ballot.
Right.
The information meetings, I agree with you, should not be held after the ballot's already on there.
We'll make the decision.
Process.
We made the decision. Now we're going to tell you why we did.
Yeah. Right.
You had no say in the decision, but
because we know best. It kind of puts off a wrong attitude.
Right.
Certainly.
Right.
Now, one question because I was in the meeting in August when you got up to the podium and asked the question. It was a direct question about, hey, are you folks going to put something on the November ballot in regard to a jail, right? You asked that question in the
I asked,
session?
at the time, I was wondering if they were going to put the park tax at a reduced level on the ballot in November.
And you asked about a November
I said,
ballot.
is there going to be a tax?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to put anything on the ballot? And they were really kind of holding back the information.
They
It was
were.
like, yes. Okay, what will it be on? Well, there will be a tax for the jail. How much? What kind of tax?
Right.
It seemed like I had to ask, to
You
to
did.
get the questions out. And I was, well, okay. And then.
Because
And then I wondered, how are you gonna do this? Cause, the deadline's coming up for getting it in.
Right. See, I thought maybe you had some inside info, and that's why you got up and asked the
Maybe.
question, because this had been, no one knew about it in the public,
No, I was just suspicious that there was gonna be something come up. I wanted to know what the timing was. We were in campaign season. I wanted to know what was going to be on the ballot, if they were going to do it. I knew that it would be coming up soon if they were going to, because the deadline.
And still, they would not have brought it up at that meeting if you hadn't asked the question.
Correct.
It was not on the agenda, there was, and speaking of transparency, there was total lack of transparency on this thing, so. But David, then you, tell us about your campaign. You ran as a Democrat, which is hard to do in Platte County. And
I
you
heard
pulled,
that.
what, 48? Did you know that going in? Did you know that was gonna be a challenge for you? Did you realize how hard that was?
I had a number of people tell me a Democrat can't win in Platte County.
Right.
I did hear that a few times, but I was surprised it was even a partisan, because I'm from the city, nonpartisan. Local issues typically aren't a party, issue. So I was a little surprised that it was that, but the issues I'm running, I had issues, the parks, which was important to me, and I found it was important to people, and just, when I started out, I was gonna try to protect the county's credit rating, because I could tell they weren't going about it in a way that was going to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So I was hoping to try to protect it. So those were the issues, and those resonated with everybody I talked to. I mean, I got out, I did a lot, and I would do it all over again, because I got into neighborhoods and communities all across the county that I hadn't been in before. And now, whenever I go anywhere in the county, I have these memories, these fond memories of people that did take the time to visit with me, when I was out, knocking on doors and campaigning. Those issues did resonate with folks. I mean, to a person, they all felt like, no, we do need more parks. Our county is growing and we're rapidly growing. We're gonna need more. We're not done, you know, and I think Commissioner Schieber had said, we're done building parks. No, you know, we're gonna need more. Even the last plan indicated that we could start talking about the need for a third community center, because the two that we have, one in Parkville and one in Platte City, are both full. I mean, they're very busy. And with the way the county's growing, we could start talking about a third one. I want to get the community engaged in that and start having some of those public meetings. You know, what would you like to see? What do you think is missing? How often do you go to parks? How well do you think they're maintained? You start gathering that. That's part of that public planning. And then based upon that outcome, you know, and as part of that, you're saying, would you support a tax? Or it's currently a half cent. Would you support it at that level? What if it, you know, we may not even need a half cent. You know, if we say we're going to build communities and we're going to do this and that would only take whatever tax, and that's what you put out there. But by that point in time, the voters have been engaged in even what's going out on the ballot and participating. And that's what I would like to see done yet. And as you know, you've heard them there. I mean, they're saying that they're doing this half cent sales tax, but they're going to level it out when the park tax expires in 2020. Meaning it's either, you know, what I've heard them say is they're going to put something out, but I think at a very minimal level to just maintain the parks that we have. And I think they're trying to, you know, they gave Platte Landing to Parkville. I think they're trying to get out of the park business altogether. And I see a county having a major role in parks within the county, what counties do. So I think the county needs to stay engaged with that, and I'll keep pushing for that.
Yeah. Hey, if you're just tuning in, this is Landmark Live. It's a production of the Platte County Landmark newspaper. I'm Ivan Foley. This is Brad Carl, street musician when he's not playing co-host.
It's not true.
What is?
People think you're serious.
Well, if you go to what is it, Zona Rosa intersection down? I've seen you down there, man.
For as long as Zona Rosa is still there.
Yeah, I mean you're trying to increase traffic for them.
I do my best. I would also like to sell an album.
What is your actual real job, or do you have one?
Well, it's funny you ask that. I don't have one. No, I do, but I will. I wanted to ask her, kind of make a comment based on what David was just talking about. I find it interesting, some of the things that we've just been discussing when we talk about the lack of transparency and telling people what's going on with the money. What is your plan? What are you thinking? You mentioned, you know, the county's credit rating. I just mentioned Zona Rosa. You know, all this stuff. And what it really reminds me of more than anything is they're treating it like this is a business, and we are the CEOs of this business, and you're just our employees. And that's kind of, I mean, because I mean, you know, I'm not self-employed, you know, so I work for a larger company, and I hear about this kind of stuff and see this kind of stuff all the time. And that's kind of the vision that I'm getting, or the feel that I'm getting. And it's like, I think that's, I mean, obviously that's wrong. That's not the way it's supposed to be. And it's my money. It's not your money. And it's our community, not your community. And we elected you, and you need to keep us informed. And again, this is speaking from some guy that's not overly actively involved with this kind of stuff, but I do live in the county, and I can certainly see the concerns that people have. Definitely.
And I'll let David speak to that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, because transparency goes beyond saying, well, you know, people can ask. You know, you don't want to make the public have to work to get the information. You want to make it easy for them to. You want to get it out. You know, some of the ways that they can improve. I mean, you can see the commission agenda for the meeting on Monday. You'll be able to look at it tomorrow morning, Friday morning, online. You have to go to the website and look it up. And I'm going to use Kansas City as an example because it's what I'm familiar with. Kansas City, you can sign up on the city clerk's website for email notifications with council committees. You can laundry list of everything you want to be notified on. Any meeting that's a public notice meeting, like the council meetings, you'll get an email of the agenda. Just automatically comes to you with the ordinance links. If you want to look at that, you can click on it and it'll take you up to see the ordinance. It's easy to do. They don't have to go out, and you don't have to remember, oh, I want to go look at that. I can't even pull up the commission calendar on my cell phone. I've got to go find my computer to do it. I don't know if everybody's that way. That's my cell phone. You know, you want to make it easy. And you want to hold informational meetings. A lot of the council members hold meetings in their district of an evenings or Saturdays. Dan Fowler up here, which I'm sure everybody's probably familiar with in Platte County, holds the Donuts with Dan on a quarterly basis. Where on a Saturday morning, people can come in with their concerns or their questions. He'll have a speaker. That kind of stuff needs to be going on.
Agreed.
Yeah, now the county commission does what they call their Friday morning breakfast or something, but that's nice, but that's not the answer to transparency problems and public input problems.
It isn't, and I didn't attend very many of those. I didn't attend any of them during my campaign, but I have attended a few since. And it's a lot of, I've tried to talk business there, and I've gotten some questions answered, but it's not the same thing, and they're not that well attended, the ones I've been to.
Yeah. Now you had great success for a Democrat. You pulled 48% of the vote, as I recall, which was and I remember writing this story. You pulled more votes than any Democrat has in Platte County in a county race in 10 years, right? So you had to feel good about that.
I wasn't thrilled about that.
Right, it's like, yeah.
But the challenge was there were 43,000 voters come out,
Right.
which is the really good news. I didn't talk to 43,000 people.
Right.
Everybody I talked to, I feel pretty confident voted for me. At least probably 90% of the people I talked to voted for me. 43,000 people, you couldn't talk to enough of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that message, because everybody, and I did talk to people that were, party affiliation was very important to them.
Yes.
I'd go to the door, I'm David Park Democrat. I said, I'm David Park, I'm running for Platte County, here's the issues. What party are you?
Yeah.
And, I'd say Democrat,
Yeah.
and they'd say, you got my vote. Well, let me tell you the issues up first. Or they'd say, I'm sorry, I don't vote for Democrats. Well, can I tell you the issues?
Right.
Sometimes they'd say no. Sometimes they'd say, okay, well, go ahead. And I'd tell them why I was running. And, I had quite a few tell me I'd be the first Democrat they ever voted for.
Yeah.
Because the issues were important to them.
Right.
It wasn't, they realized that these issues, preserving the parks, Republicans, Democrats alike enjoy the trails. Republicans and Democrats alike go to the community centers. Right. Those things are enjoyed by everybody, regardless of their party affiliation. So that's what helped.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just afraid that maybe of the 43,000 who voted that I didn't talk to, that did just vote party affiliation, because Republicans outnumbered Democrats in Platte County.
And we get feedback at the Landmark office quite a bit, and there were many people who reached out to us and said, hey, David Park dropped in, if only he wasn't a Democrat.
What a wonderful thing to hear.
So that was out there.
We didn't talk national politics. I avoided that when I was out in the field.
Well, yeah, and I can imagine, again, coming from a family that I grew up where politics was not ever really talked about. I never grew up under any kind of affiliation. The lines are so blurred these days when it comes to politics that for me, a guy my age, it's like I just don't classify myself as anything anymore.
And that's my when you slap a label and you try to fit people into two buckets.
Yeah.
You get this bucket, that bucket, and you slap a label on and you try to throw them in a bucket that they don't really fit in.
Right.
Right.
Because you've given them that label. We need to get away from that.
I
We
agree.
really do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And just to speak to that a little bit, we had a person, an older gentleman who's a lifelong Democrat, older gentleman, very staunch Democrat, came into the office this week and could not believe this group of Republican county commissioners had put this jail tax issue on the ballot. And his comment was, "This is a Bernie Sanders deal."
Well, they compare something like this to
yeah, so that tells you that you said blurred lines.
Right,
It's
true.
You don't know what people are going to propose these days. It's just this makes no sense coming from this group to me at all.
Yeah.
But speak to the jail proposal a little more. What are the transparency issue bothered you, and it bothered me as well. What are some of your other concerns about the jail tax proposal?
And looking at the jail tax, like I said, I was a little curious about the population increasing, and of course my concern with it initially was, they're going to take this tax and then do away with the parks tax. I want the parks tax, and if this gets passed, then it's going to be harder to do that.
Sure.
So I started looking at it, and I don't. The population in the jail is growing. I do see that. The numbers, you can't, those numbers can't lie. But I started looking at last August, looking at the crime rate. I got crime stats from the Missouri Highway Patrol that maintains uniform crime reporting system for all the jurisdictions except Kansas City. report to FBI. So I got some stats from them. So I looked at the crime rates in Platte County, and they were relatively level over the last 2 decades. So I was like, I don't see that, I see it growing, but why? And they hired, about that time they were hiring the consultant, Bill Garnos, to look at, at our jail and jail needs. So I Googled him, and I found a study done that he did for Greene County, Missouri, which is in Springfield. So I looked at that, and what I found down there was similar to what we were seeing here. The crime rate's been stable, but their jail population was going up. And because their average length of stay, the inmates were staying in jail longer. And he said, and when he came in and gave his presentation to the commissioner, you were there that day, I asked him about that, and he said, yeah, Greene County hired him so that they could demonstrate the impact the underfunded public defender system in Missouri was having on their jail. Because it was taking longer for the cases to get heard in court, because the public defenders had so many cases, and the inmates were sort of backing up in their jail. So I asked him about that. Well, and then he did the study in Platte County and found essentially the same thing. If I looked at his study, if you look at, the booking number of bookings coming in, and coming into the jail is relatively level, maybe a slight increase, but not enough to explain the increase in the population. But the average length of stay since 2008, I think, to 2017 or 2018 had like doubled. Well, it's like, I used a funnel example earlier. If you take a funnel and you constrict the end of it, you've been pouring in the same amount, but you make this hole at the end of it, starts backing up inside the funnel. And rather than look at what we need to do to get it back operating where it should, we're just going to build a big funnel. So I want to look at that. So I started, investigating Missouri public defender system. It has been woefully underfunded. Counties all across the state of Missouri are experiencing the same thing. We need to fix that. Our public defenders, their offices until recently were in Liberty. So their clients are over in our jail, but their attorneys are over in Liberty. And I started tracking some of the cases through CaseNet and finding some more continuances because the public defender appeared that, they just got assigned, they needed more time for, so if you get, now the court date's been extended another 30, well, that adds to the average length of stay. And I do understand that they did just get some offices inside the court building here, so that's helpful. Then I also learned about pretrial services. They use them in Boone County. For example, Boone County, it was Columbia, Missouri. When somebody's arrested, there's this pretrial services gets engaged right from the start. What's their crime? How dangerous are they? Do they have family members? How likely are they going to be to come back? Who's set up to help them? Then they make a recommendation to the judge whether that person can be released or not. And if they can be released, then they're released, and otherwise they're held. That goes a long way to help getting people out so that they're just not in there because they can't afford to pay a bail, which the bail system's coming out anyway. They're going to have to do something like this. That same service can help ensure they make it back to court, because a lot of times these people are just, they're not good calendar managers.
Right.
So, somebody calls them the day before and says, remember you got a court date tomorrow. Or make sure they got a family member, they can give them a ride down. I mean, they kind of do that to help get it through the process. That keeps the courts, the whole court docket system down too, because it impacts the courts dockets as well. So we need something like that. I did ask at one of the coffee with the commissioners about getting that pretrial services going, especially with the Supreme Court ruling coming out. And so that's not our job. So I called I did talk to the presiding judge, Judge Van Amberg, and asked him about it. He said, well, the ruling was so new that it was hard to tell exactly what kind of impact it would have. But I think, if we got to accommodate that July 1, we need to be getting started now. If there's got to be staff hired to perform those pretrial services, find office space for them. There's a lot that needs to be done to get that up and running to do it well. And of course, I know the sheriff really wants this jail tax. And I really sympathize for the sheriff and his staff, because I know how hard it is to deal with, trying to juggle where you put the inmates. You got bunch of them coming in, you've got some leaving. You've got to figure out, okay, I can't put this one with this category of people. I know how hard that is, how stressful that is. And this tax is probably, because he's not responsible for any of that. The average length of stay is increasing. He can't control the public defender system. He can't engage in pretrial services. He can't do the things that need to be done, but he pays the price for all of that.
Right.
The others can sit back and say, not my job.
Right.
He's the one that suffers. I do think that there's, based upon some of the discussions I've heard, at least as far as investigators having to talk to witnesses in a room, an open room, lack of privacy, and same thing for the prosecutors and for the public defenders, visiting the client, that there's a need for more office space for sheriffs and prosecutors. It wouldn't be a half-cent sales tax.
Right.
But I would entertain, we could look at something like that, needing to do something like that. If we do a tax dedicated to the Sheriff's Department operations, which is also talked about. Last summer, they were talking about putting him on the whole thing on a half-cent sales tax. I said, you don't want to put an operation like that on a tax that expires. It's not fair to the operation, it's not fair to the taxpayers, because in 10 years, what do? Do you want to keep the Sheriff's Department going or not?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to prove a tax if you. No, you put it on a permanent tax and make sure that it's there. But, you got all the general fund to play with now.
Mm-hmm.
I know that one of the things about Democrats is we love taxes, right? I don't like taxes any more than anybody else. And I looked at our taxes in Platte County, property tax, sales taxes. They're really high enough. I don't see it. We ought to be able to live within that tax structure. We really should. We really should. So I think it's just a matter of getting in and figuring out better about
It
how.
is the sales tax. I mean, we can talk about this a little bit. The county's got a half cent on. City of Kansas City's got what? The pre-K tax is a 3/8 cent proposal. And then the city of Parkville's got a half cent on for parks. There's 3 tax proposals, sales tax proposals on the April ballot, right?
Right,
So,
right.
wow, the sales tax rate in some areas of Platte County is just going to be silly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. That's some great information, though. I got to tell you, I really learned even more about it, and also now understand and sympathize with the sheriff the way you just discussed. Because, but like you said earlier, when you were mentioning the funnel and about how we're going to solve it by just making the top of the funnel bigger, which is probably that's not really getting to the root of the problem. Right. And I think, and again, that kind of reminds me of some business ownerships that really don't really get into the root of their issues to try to figure out what the real problem is and what needs to be solved. And of course, again, looking at the sheriff, like you said, it's like he can't do any of the other. All he can really do is say, "Hey, how about give me a new jail?" And I get that, I understand that, but unfortunately, that's the whole discussion that we're having here. Is that's not really what the problem is, and at least not what we're seeing and what information we're getting. And so, very very good stuff, David.
that's a good
really
analysis
that,
on your part for a guy who hasn't really been into the political scene, Brad.
Well, it just goes to show that I'm actually listening to our guests for once.
He said, there was. You should run for office.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
Hey, we have a sponsor tonight. It's Total Tan. Total Tan provides 5 levels of UV tanning beds, plus automated spray tanning and custom airbrush tanning. The staff is trained to guide you through the process of selecting the right tanning package for your skin type and your tanning goals. The monthly sales are always popular and can be found on their website at
TotalTanKC.com.
Yes. Mention you tolerated Ivan and Brad on this episode of Landmark Live and receive an additional 10% off any tanning package. You've got to take advantage of that one. Mention you watched Landmark Live, saw the Total Tan ad. You're going to get 10% off that tanning package.
But they have to tell them which one is Brad and which one is Ivan successfully.
There you go.
And I'm neither.
That's great. Thank God for you.
Thank you, Vic Perrin of Total Tan for sponsoring. And Vic's place is, by the way, in the Lowe's Walmart complex off of Berry Road and I-29 over there off of Ambassador.
The weather gets nicer. We're going to have to go do another live broadcast.
We've done a
That was good
couple
time.
live shows down from
Yeah.
Vic's place. We'll do it again.
Should.
It's always popular.
Definitely.
Vic, he sometimes gets a paintbrush out to paint his clients.
He
started that.
It depends. Yeah, I know. It depends on what kind of lines they have that he needs to go around.
It's detailed work. He's like an artist.
He is. Kind of is.
Yeah. Oh man, Vic's a good dude.
He is.
So David, your experience then. What are your plans in the future? Anything? I mean, you came close. Okay, so what's ahead for you?
Yeah, I don't really know. I can't say for sure. I'm going to keep involved. You know, we'll see what happens, how this tax goes, whether they start seeing any movement towards implementing more transparency.
Right.
If it fixes, I'm good. I'll go back to spending more afternoons out on my pontoon boat or on the golf course and be happy doing that. But, you know, until I start seeing some of that, I'm gonna stay engaged and
Awesome.
kind of see what goes from there.
I think we need to do a show out on Smithville Lake with, because you've got a pontoon, Vic's got a boat.
pontoon, yeah,
We
boat,
could
yeah, that's
line,
right.
we could just tie those two boats together. We could have a heck of a show out
That would
there.
be really fun. I wonder how the Wi-Fi is out there.
We will check that out. Very good.
I didn't think so.
The reception not good out there? Well, there you go. That was all the great ideas.
That's
but-
funny.
Which sometimes is a good thing.
Yeah,
Well, that's true,
that's
too.
right. If you want to get away, right?
Very true. Very true. Hey, did you mention me in the paper this week?
I don't think I did.
You know, I always liked it when I was a kid playing baseball and I was bowling. I always liked to get, you know, it was always a big deal to get your name in the paper. And so I always try to keep track of how many times you mentioned me. in the
Well, we'll
paper.
get it in next week. Does that make you feel better?
Yeah, maybe you'd like to put my poem in the paper.
Oh, yeah. Would you like to read that to us?
Yeah, if you know, I think so. You know, it's not going to be near it's as good as the information that David has just given us. And in fact, I should apologize ahead of time because if I'd have known about your love for the parks, you know, situation here in Platte County, I would have thrown a little line in there about that too. But I did not. But just imagine that I did. So and this, of course, is all in good fun. You remember here a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned the Platte County. I was going to write the song and call it the Platte County Prison Blues.
Right.
Now, granted, you know, there's a difference between a jail and a prison. We're talking about a jail and not prison, but you know, the Johnny Cash song goes without saying. Folsom County, Folsom Prison Blues. So here we go. Let's see if I can do this with a piece of gum in my mouth. The Platte County Jail is overflowing. At least that's what they tell us as their smoke is blowing. Now, Platte County just happens to occupy a place in the northwestern portion of the Show Me State. I've got a better way for you to spend your money. Buy a book authored by me. Some of them are even kind of funny. We can spend a tax increase elsewhere and find a good cause, like giving police and deputies a raise since they enforce our laws. Because jail should not be comfy, it should be a horrible time. So in the future, they'll think before committing a crime. If the jail's really crowded, that's a lot of tattoos. And those cons will be singing the Platte County Prison Blues. Thank you very much.
Brad Carl for commissioner.
I don't know about that.
That was good. Wasn't it?
Oh, you know, I tell you,
That's really good.
Was that you asked me what I do for a living?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I do when I'm not doing what I should be doing for a living.
Which is what? You never have sales. What do you really do? We don't know.
I'm in sales. You know, you can learn more about me.
I'm
Remember my
in
new
sales.
website? I'm in sales. I'm in
That's
sales.
a very general comment.
Remember my new website?
Brad
The
Carl?
real BradCarl.com.
Oh, the real Brad.
The real Brad Carl.
There were so many fake Brad Carls out there. It's good
You gotta
that
make
you
sure that,
Yeah.
because the fake Brad Carl is Ivan Foley, and you are the fake Brad Carl.
Well,
remember?
yeah, everybody thinks I am.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah.
David, I mean, if the jail tax passes, what do we do? I mean, we're going to fork over some more money, obviously. won't we?
Yeah, I don't, well, the money will start getting collected.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to go about financing it
Right.
because of the.
You want to touch on that? And we haven't talked about the bond issue or the bond rating situation.
Yeah, I mean, when they started talking about it, I mean, that was one of my concerns because they had talked about it. And I knew that, you know, even talking about it was risky, but not making the payment was going to sink our credit rating. And that's how it ended up. Now, I've heard them talk about this is going to be a different tax because there's a dedicated, or a different situation because there's a dedicated tax to pay these bonds, this tax that voters would approve. But there was a dedicated tax at Zona Rosa too.
Bingo. We talked about that this week in our office. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how they're that much different because what the bond issuers would be looking at, well, what's the guarantee? What happens if this tax doesn't generate the funding that you thought it would?
Yeah.
Because of internet sales or whatever, you know, that you know, our sales tax collections in Platte County happens to go down over the next 10, you know, however long this is.
Yeah.
The bonds would be for, is the county gonna back them? You know, if
Right.
you're showing a history of, no, we don't in similar
Right.
situations, then it's gonna be hard to even sell them, much less get any kind of rate at it.
Right.
If you get a rate, it's gonna cost a lot more. In the meantime, you know, if they've gotta wait until they collect the full 43 million, 50 million, whatever it was to build it, you know, one, the cost by that time will probably be 60, 70 million.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know if they'll ever be able
Yeah.
to get to that point. I'm not sure how they'll be able to do it. I really not.
Yeah, that's one thing for the people, because that's been said several times, that, hey, this will have a dedicated funding stream. Well, as you said, Zona Rosa had a 1% sales tax, it was a dedicated funding stream, didn't work out so well.
No.
So,
And I had hoped to, I still, folks back at the city, Kansas City has bonds in its Zona as well. And, they were looking to try to, had started kind of looking at ways that we could maybe work together and get out of this mess. But once the credit rating went
Kansas City has no desire to work with Platte County right now.
well, there wasn't anything, it couldn't be done then.
Right.
Some of the things that they were initially started looking at doing, they couldn't do anymore. It was off the table now. So,
Now, let's talk about that, because the city of Kansas City has indicated in the last week or so that they would like to build their own jail, planning to build their own jail, 150 beds. The price tag they've thrown out is $8 million. Just talk about what you know about that Kansas City proposal, because I know you still have some interest and some ties down there, perhaps.
I do, and I was at a budget presentation that the city was doing on the budget, and I talked to the city manager, Troy Schulte, about if he knew we were looking at a jail issue in Platte County, and I asked him, they also got an issue with their jail. I'd heard the contract with Jackson County was going to be ending. He said, yeah, it looked like they'd be building a new jail, because they got their contract with Jackson County expires this summer sometime. So I said, well, do you think you could build enough so if we have overflow from Platte County, you could accommodate some of them? And he said, yeah, that could probably be done. So that would be something I think that we could be looking at them. That would be a closer, potentially, I believe, low-cost option for when we do hit, or especially if the tax doesn't pass, and we hit capacity, which we will this summer. Jail populations fluctuate in the summer. Summer will be a busy time. We'll have issues this summer. That we would have a lower cost place and close to move some inmates to. So I would look to be doing that. Then I read the paper, and the 150 inmates is about what it has been historically, so that'd be the size they'd be looking for. The $8 million, if they repurpose, that's probably what they're looking for, is finding a building that they can repurpose in order to build it that fast. They don't have the luxury of time to wait, because they're going to need a place right away, and it's faster to repurpose a building than to start from scratch and build up. So I'm sure they're looking for something like that to do it, and hopefully they'll keep us in mind. And if the city has 150 inmates, maybe they'll build it for 175 or a little bit larger. If not Platte County, I think Greene County is still looking for places for inmates.
Yeah, very cool. Anything else from you today?
I was just going to mention too, kind of dialing it back to Brad Carl type layman terms. People go in to vote, they see tax. Would you guys? I'm really curious to know what you both think. Do you think people in general? There's like three different kinds of people in this world. There's people that are, or maybe two. There's people that are engaged in understanding what's going on with the county, and there's people maybe like me, maybe a year ago, that had no idea what he was doing and sees tax, no, and people that just go in and just don't want to add more taxes, and they don't really even know or care what they're voting against. Do you think that's there's probably a lot of people that do that?
There's a lot of people that do that, and there's a lot of people that do the opposite.
Right.
Oh, jail? Yeah, we need, get tough on crime. I'll vote yes for that. So there are
goes
people.
both ways.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, probably true.
But a bigger jail really isn't going to do anything to reduce your crime rate. Number one, I don't think we have a crime problem. And Platte County felonies dropped by 3% last year, which a lot of times the commissioners failed to mention that. The crime rate actually dropped last year. Dagmar Wood the other day, one of the commissioners said, we still have a crime problem in Platte County. Well, I don't know, it's all trending downward or staying steady, and you've got those stats.
But there is crime, and that is a problem, either. It's all semantics.
And really, there is crime.
I understand politics
If she would have
really
stopped
well.
that, we do still have crime in Platte County. Yes, we do.
You're right.
Yeah,
What I used to say on the campaign trail, if you've got plenty of organized sports activities for the youth, give them something to do, bring them up, let them learn those kind of teamwork values, those kind of values that you get playing Little League, whatever. And you've got plenty of those facilities, then you impact your crime rate later. That's where you keep it. You keep them from going bad. So I think we need more of that, and that's one of the reasons I'm a big supporter of parks.
Makes sense.
Hey folks, if you're just tuning in, where you been? The show's about over. This is Landmark Live. It's a production of the Platte County Landmark newspaper. I'm Ivan Foley. This is Brad Carl. We are speaking with David Park, what would we call you, David? A community activist? Just an interested citizen at this point? What do you?
I've kind of, because I continue to keep up a website, and
Right.
but it's not a campaign website, so I've kind of renamed it Platte County Advocate because I'm just kind of advocating for Platte County issues.
Okay.
And if folks want to follow what you're up to, tell them how they can find your Facebook page and whatnot, or
It's go to the easiest way to probably is go to my website first, PlatteCountyAdvocate.com. That's all one word, PlatteCountyAdvocate.com, and then you can sign up for email updates or click on the Facebook link and go to my Facebook page and like that as well.
yeah, hey,
Or just search Park for Platte on the on Facebook and you'll find it.
yeah, hey, and give us a call at 858-0363. We'll get you a subscription to the Platte County Landmark. Look at this front page, all pretty.
Very pretty.
Very pretty, with lots of pretty pictures. There's some drawings of a jail.
That's good. Did you do that with Legos?
Yeah.
That's,
And
that's what it kind of looks like. My
That's
daughter
a watercolor. I took a watercolor paintbrush to every issue of the Landmark.
Oh, I thought maybe
Yeah.
that's very impressive. I thought maybe Vic had done that.
It's been a real good. He only does tan. I do all colors.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But hey, Brad, would you like to read Vic's ad before we go?
I would.
Hey, let's read the one about how they can get 10% off again.
Oh, I can do that. The one that the
Yeah,
other.
the one
Okay,
that's
gotcha.
hidden.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Total Tan provides 5 levels of UV tanning beds, plus automated spray tanning and custom airbrush tanning. That's a lot of tanning right there.
Wow.
The staff is trained to guide you through the process of selecting the right tanning package for your skin type and your tanning goals. The monthly sales are always popular and can be found on their website at TotalTanKC.com. Mention you tolerated Ivan and Brad on this episode of Landmark Live.
Are you sure that's right?
I'm not sure. And receive an additional 10% off any tanning package. Again, that's mention that you tolerated Ivan and Brad here on the show, and you will get 10% more off. That's great.
Yeah.
Can't beat that.
10% off.
Very cool.
You still have to take 100% off to get a tan, though, I think. An all-over tan. To get a total tan.
You know, you want a total tan because you never know when something's going to fall off or fall
Well,
out.
right. You might have a wardrobe malfunction.
Exactly.
You don't know. You just can't predict these things.
Never
That
have any
happens.
idea. Exactly.
Well, David, anything else you want to add tonight? We're going to wrap up this show because you know what? It's March Bradness, which also means it's March Madness.
There's a game on right now. We got to watch it.
There is a basketball game on, and look at that. Texas Tech is getting beat.
That is unfortunate if
That
you're
is
a
unfortunate.
Texas Tech fan.
Well, of course,
See,
it's a lot
when
of
Cindy goes away, she always goes away like about 4 or 5 seconds too long. You can come back now, Cindy.
Show's still on. Come back this way. But what we're doing, and this is Thursday. If you're watching it live, it is Thursday.
It is Thursday.
Brad and I are going to head up to Tanner's and watch some Big 12 basketball. So if you want to come up there, join us. Get a free selfie with the real Brad Carl. He's not charging for selfies tonight.
Right.
Free.
No free selfies. Yes.
Right.
Yes. But my books still cost money.
That's how much are you charging for that?
It depends.
Okay.
Tips. Just tips.
Tips.
Just tips.
And David, if you want to join us at Tanner's, you can do that as well, friend. We'll go up there and and talk about things, and
Yes.
we'll discuss.
On the down, we'll keep it like we'll talk about the truth now.
The truth will come out.
Exactly.
Everything we wanted to say but didn't.
Can't.
Okay. Well, guys, hey, tune in next week. We'll have another show. I think we're going to do Wednesday night next week, the night before the real March Madness kicks off. We'll probably talk some basketball, and we'll be back again with more Platte County current events, won't we, Brad?
We will be. And Sunday I am going to bring in my guitar, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
We've got another community activist coming on. That's Wednesday
Oh,
night.
that's good. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
we're
Good.
gonna. I
Okay.
mean, we're gonna do
Good.
it all.
Good. Good.
We're
We
gonna,
got it.
we're gonna do basketball and community events all at the same time.
Sounds good to me.
Next Wednesday night. Join us then. Until next time, we'll see you. Thanks, everybody.